Seahawks fans, wherever you may be. Thanks for listening to the show. Join your hosts, Bill Alvstad and Keith Myers, as we talk Seahawks football. Hey, hi, Seahawks fans. Welcome back to another episode of the Seahawks Playbook podcast. I'm your host, Bill Alvstad, sitting down with co-host Keith Myers, here to talk Seahawks football after that tremendous win in the desert against the Cardinals, 23-20 on a last-second field goal, literally, to walk off with the win. Jason Myers, kind of a redemption moment for him because he missed one from almost the exact same spot on the field earlier in the game. Lots to talk about here on a great division win by this team. A lot of grit, a lot of resiliency, a lot of domination for 3/4 of this game. And then the Cardinals were allowed to kind of creep back in and tie this thing up with 28 seconds to go. Mm-hmm. Welcome in, Keith, man. How you doing?
Doing good. Yeah, tied it up with 28 seconds left to go, and it wasn't enough. The Seahawks were able to do what they had to in 28 seconds to get the win in regulation. So that's always good. Yeah, the end of the game, the kind of the collapse, the giving up the 14-point lead is disappointing. But there's some different factors to that. I mean, a missed field goal would have put him up, that would have put him up by 2 scores again and would have basically put the game away. There was a touchdown by Charbonnet that was called back, and it's hard to see holding on JSN on that play. Like I've watched it so many times, just trying to say, like, right, what were they calling? And I get that the guy fell down, right? And they were locked up in a block and the guy fell down. So I think the referee was like, oh, that looks like there should have been a hold. Otherwise that wouldn't have happened, and threw a flag, but never actually saw a hold because there wasn't a hold to see. He just,
I think you need to put that whole thing into context too, in the fact that Melton just clobbered Njigba and the momentum carried them down. Now you could make a case, and I've watched it a dozen times as well. It's hard to see what Njigba's doing with his offhand that you can't see around the other side. And he could have been holding on to him as he was falling backwards. And that's not holding. I mean, that's just falling. And, and that technically happened after Charbonnet made his cut and was going around the corner, and Melton had no chance. Mm-hmm. So that was it was a bad call. I asked you in real time because I couldn't see it, and they wouldn't show the replay on the big screen, and so
there's a reason why they wouldn't show the replay. Because the home
and
fans
you told me it was a phantom call, and I was like, oh crap.
Yeah. I mean, it was one of those things where you saw that, and you're like, because if he goes in, that puts him up by 3 scores. This game's over. And then later, they have the missed field goal that would have ended the game. And so there's just a couple of those things, and a couple of calls that extended drives
or took things away, like the call on Walker for taunting. Mm-hmm. Took him out of field goal range.
Yeah,
I thought that was that's rough.
Yeah, there were a few things like that would have changed it and would have made it so even Arizona's like frantic fourth quarter wouldn't have mattered. And you just need one of those things to happen in the right way. They didn't get any of them. They won anyway. So
that's a great sign.
Yeah.
That's why I feel really good about this thing. It's like, I'm not going to let those 2 drives, 17 unanswered points, right? Good for them. They played, they stuck with it. They got back into the game. Seattle softened up a little bit. I'm telling you what, though, my impression in person was that the defense looked completely gassed. Yeah, tail end of that third quarter and the fourth quarter, there was just no question. Well, the reason why is they just played 3 games in 11 days, and they won all 3. So there was a reason why they were kind of lagging on the field there at the end there. They were just worn out. and couple plays there. Woolen on one, Witherspoon on a couple, and even then he was in really good coverage on that touchdown play. I think it was just a matter of having the ball in the right place, and he just missed it. Just missed the timing on swiping that thing away. Regardless, we come out on top with the last second field goal. I thought the redemption story there for Myers was something else. I thought, being there in person, watching Sam Darnold was pretty impressive. I thought he played very well, really in command, clutch, obviously, down the stretch. We had talked just right before the game in our pregame show earlier this week. I said, is there a possibility that Sam Darnold's the guy, that he's becoming the franchise quarterback for this team? And you said, I need to see him really kind of close out games, or, paraphrasing here, close out games and be clutch and win, a couple down the stretch. And I don't even know if you said a couple, but here he did, and I will say this too. He was on the road to winning that game against the 49ers in week 1, if not for that fumble, that where the defender was pushed right into him, or the defender pushed Abe Lucas right back into him. And then this, I thought, was just amazing. So 28 seconds left. They have a timeout. They lucked into an additional, let's just say, 10, 15 yards of blades of grass because of a penalty on their kicker. Placed that ball at the 40-yard line without any time off on the clock. So that was definitely a positive. Although, the way that the Seahawks were operating there, I think that's one additional play, and they had time for that technically. And that play to Njigba at the on the sideline there, where Njigba stretched and made sure his knees weren't touching, got out of bounds, initially called inbounds, and the clock kept rolling. They had to burn a timeout. That got handed back to them. I thought that was amazing. I mean, right there in that one play, Darnold and Njigba got Seattle in an opportunity to get at least an attempt on a game-winning kick, and it was amazing. That was on my end of the field, and I was so nervous, dude. I can't even begin to tell you. I was dead silence. Everyone around me was just screaming and yelling their heads off, and I'm just like, man, I wish it was quiet, but they got it done, and it was a tremendous walk-off victory.
So watching the game on TV, there were points where this seemed like a Seattle home game. I think I texted you that if it wasn't for the Cardinal in the center of the field, you'd think it was, because I'm watching this and you can hear the Seahawks chant coming, coming through the broadcast.
Yeah.
What was it like there?
That was initiated from my section. So it's funny because I was on the about the 40-yard line, about 20 rows up. So really good seats. And by the way, those seats at Lumen Field would be like $3,000 a piece. And they were $200 plus to see them in Arizona. And my parking was $30. I parked directly across the street from the stadium. Just to rub that in a little bit. So anyway, inside the stadium. So on the Seahawks side of State Farm Stadium is about, I would say, like, I'm going to be conservative and say like 70% Seahawk fans from end zone to end zone, front row back as far as I could see. Now, I don't know, third level, fourth level, that sort of thing. I didn't see that, but everything in the middle there was about 70% Seahawk fans. So it is like a home game, at least on one side of the field. Now, I will give the Cardinals credit. The other side of the field, from the end zones all the way around was pretty rad. But I will say this, from my perspective, I thought Seattle was making a lot more noise in general. And there's a reason why. Seattle was ahead in this game from the get-go and dominated through 3 quarters. I mean, after 3 quarters, Seattle held the Cardinals to 6 points and 138 total yards. And we averaged 6.5 yards per play. They were averaging 3. It was total domination, really. And the score should have been reflected of that a little bit more. Like we had an opportunity to probably have an additional 10 to 14 points on the board that we just didn't end up with, but it felt like that. So to allow them to come back into this game was extremely disappointing, only in that it should have been just not even close. It should have been like that Pittsburgh game, not the Pittsburgh game, excuse me. The last game that we just played.
The Saints game?
Yeah.
I don't know. The Saints that was domination from the beginning. They were up.
It was harder to move the ball. I will say that.
4 minutes left in the first quarter.
Yeah. No, it was harder to move the ball. Yeah. No, it was hard. Here's the deal too. And you talked to me about running the ball. I will say this, that the Cardinals are not a bad team. I've got some stats here. I wanted to just say, they came into this game like as the 3rd best run defense in the NFL. And a number of other attributes that put them as kind of a fringy top 5 to top 8 defense overall, EPA, all that kind of stuff. And so they're not a bad unit. And I think that was reflected in the way that they played. I think our offenses turned out to be pretty good as well. And so that was kind of an even kind of battle back and forth. And I thought our defense was just too much for their offense, and that was the key difference in the game up until those last couple drives. But I don't know how this game looks on the rematch, like in Seattle. Like, I think it's going to end up being a completely different game. I think Seattle is going to end up being a completely different spot at that point, and the Cardinals will be a different team. I loved the game. I mean, except for those couple drives at the end. Like, it was just one of those games where it was hard to run, but we ended up with 155 yards. We ended up averaging like 4.2 or 4.3 yards per carry. Not horrible. I think that's our best output so far this season. I thought most of those yards were really hard fought. Like,
they were.
There was a couple, Charbonnet runs where he had like 10 yards, but and where Ken Walker had 8 or 9 yards. But those were the big runs of the game. Everything else was really bottled up pretty good. Then we still ended up really focused on trying to run the ball, trying to take the time off the clock. I thought it was a good strategy overall. I thought it got somewhat conservative, Keith, I think, but also we were up, 20-6 up until the beginning of the fourth quarter. And there's a reason why you would be a little bit conservative with that. But I'm interested to kind of see what your thoughts are, especially around a couple of key players in this game.
Well, I mean, I look at like JSN had 0 catches, 0 targets in the first half. And that was a surprise. Now, he ended up leading the Seahawks in receiving, and gonna find the numbers here. 4 catches for 79 yards. Those are both team highs. And that's, that's a good output, but that all came in the second half.
All came in the fourth quarter.
For the most part, yeah. They got him a run around left end earlier in the, trying to get him some touches and stuff. But Arizona went into this game saying, we are not going to let JSN beat us. And so Darnold had to spread the ball around. At one point, he had 13 receptions to 8 different receivers. That's crazy. And how point guardy that is spreading the ball around. Um,
Yeah.
And then JSN finally got his. And when he's doing stuff, I am just amazed. Like I know that we've been blessed with some really good receivers in the Seahawk history. Lockett, of course, Doug Baldwin, even DK and Joey Galloway, and we could keep going. And Largent, who's the jersey I was wearing.
Brian Blades, etc. I mean, there's been a lot.
There's been a lot, but JSN belongs in that because his ability to get open, to catch the ball through contact and in traffic, is phenomenal. And is he the fastest guy out there? No, but it doesn't really matter because he's so good at getting separation.
He's like Daryl Jackson without the drops. Yeah, he's just a real crafty guy. He is like Doug Baldwin in that way, only with, it seems to me personally, just slightly better speed. I know Njigba didn't measure that in his 40 time and stuff, but he's crafty. He separates with a great route running ability and separation at the line of scrimmage. And he's a pro's pro already in this league.
He's in
and
year 3.
I love watching him. I really do.
He came into this week as the number 2 receiver in the entire NFL in terms of yards, and 79 yards is not going to hurt him in that regard. He's probably going to, he may drop a spot or two, but he's still going to be top 5. If that's going to continue, I don't see any reason why that wouldn't continue throughout the entire year. The guy is just good, and teams are trying to take him away from Seattle's offense, double teaming him, rolling a safety to him on every play, and it just freaking hasn't mattered yet.
I think that's a great point, Keith, in that you can keep a receiver down, but you can't keep him down for the entire game, right? And when it's really important, games on the line, your biggest players come up and make the biggest plays. And so far, Sam Darnold and Njigba are answering that call. And I love it. It separates the teams. Like last year, I point to the Rams game last year where we struggled, but we were in a position to win, right? And then we didn't. And we ended up finishing the season 10 with 10 wins. Still a fairly decent team, disjointed offensively, obviously, but that dysfunctional team still finished with 10 wins and lost a couple of key wins down key games down the stretch there where we could have been even like an 11 or 12 win team if the ball bounces right for you. I think this team has a real opportunity here. And we talked about it in the preseason. We talked about it in our prediction show about the optimistic viewpoint of what this team could be if Sam Darnold ends up being the most optimistic outlook that you could see for him with this team and with Klint Kubiak. And it turns out so far, 4 games in, right? He's that guy. Like the offense is really kind of coming around, I think, quicker than maybe we thought. Maybe the offensive line is a little better than we thought maybe they would be the first 4 or 5 games in. And so it's really kind of allowed this team, I think, to mature slightly faster than most people thought. Although I thought, and you thought, maybe I was a little more optimistic, during that prediction show, that this team could kind of come out hot that way. I think, in fact, I predicted like a 6-1 record after 7 games, something like that. Mm-hmm. And I think this team really has a shot to kind of do that. And Sam Darnold is the real deal. I mean, we've seen him now for 4 games. He hasn't been perfect. The offense hasn't been perfect. The running game's kind of struggled. Even in this last game, it wasn't great, but it wasn't horrible. And I think we're seeing like a really good quarterback here that I think this team's going to be really interested in signing long-term because it's exactly the identity that I think that Mike Macdonald likes. Mike Macdonald glows about him. as a guy that you would definitely want to lead your team.
Yeah.
So,
and it doesn't hurt the case for Darnold that Jalen Milroe has 2 carries for 4 yards on this season. Like they've had him active for a couple of games, and they had that package has not turned into being something that they've looked at using very much. And so that really quiets the talk of, how long until Milroe's the guy? Well, at this point, we don't know the answer to that. It could be never. And it doesn't matter. I don't know, because Darnold has looked the part. He's really done it. In this
and you don't want to
game,
make the same mistake that Minnesota made. You don't want to have a quarterback waiting in the wings that's unproven, that's potentially spectacular, but unproven. And you go for a guy that's extremely vanilla, but gets the job done as a warrior. Your team respects him. He just goes out and gets the wins. He performs when the game's on the line. You don't get rid of a guy like that. I'm not sure exactly what Minnesota was thinking. But that's kind of what they were thinking, was like, well, we've got this guy. We drafted him, in the first round. We kind of need to go with that guy. Darnold's going to be really expensive. It's just time to move on. I think they moved on too quickly is what happened.
Yeah, I was really, I know that with the last game of the season and then the playoff game, like Darnold did not have his best games.
But he was also sacked 9 times against the Rams.
But I look at those 2 games probably changed the Vikings plan, because it really felt like before that the plan was going to be to sign Sam Darnold long term, and then trade JJ McCarthy and try and get that first round pick back. But then Darnold had a couple of rough games, and they decided to go the other direction and go with McCarthy and let Sam Darnold walk. And that was very much to Seattle's advantage, because, you look at his stats in this game: 18 out of 26, 242 yards, 1 touchdown, no picks, rating of 111.4. Those are good numbers. He only threw 26 passes.
But 11 of those were over 10 yards. He was 9 of 11, 165 yards, a touchdown, and a 149 passer rating on those throws
down the field. Yep. Wherein you look at Murray had more completions than Darnold had pass attempts with 27. But he was 27 of 41 for only 200 yards. That means he averaged less than 5 yards per pass attempt.
On the year, Darnold averaging 9.1 yards per throw. Leads third best in the NFL, behind only Lamar Jackson and Daniel Jones, believe it or not.
Daniel Jones is having a crazy, what the hell? I thought he was terrible, but he's looked really good through 3 games.
He's another quarterback that got out of New York.
Yeah, New York is apparently the death of quarterbacks. Just ask Russ.
So, okay. So I kind of wanted to go through and just kind of talk about some different players. We've talked about Njigba. We've talked about Sam Darnold now extensively. I did want to mention a coach that kind of goes in hand with Darnold, and that's Klint Kubiak.
Yeah.
Since losing the 49ers game in week 1, with just an awful game plan and performance, really, Seattle went, at 4% of their passes being play action to 24% the next week. They went from 60% shotgun to 60% under center. And so far this year, now they're 23% play action, 57% under center. The results are that Seattle now has the 6th best offense in the NFL, and an EPA per play is the 3rd best passing offense in the NFL.
So the passing offense, I would give you overall offense. I have a hard time thinking that Seattle would be the 3rd best EPA per play, because the running game is still
3rd best EPA passing.
Yeah, but it's per pass. The running game is still shoddy.
Work in
They need to fix some stuff there. But I like that they haven't just been like, oh, it's not working, we're not going to run anymore. The running game, for the most part in this game, was not fun to watch. It really
It's a
just wasn't.
grind.
But you know what? They still ran the ball 35 times for
It
155
would have been a
yards.
little better too. I'm just saying, with the Walker thing that got called back for, and then the thing with Charbonnet, the touchdown, with the holding, it's like, come on. So it would have looked a little better on paper, I think. And we killed some of those drives. Those drives ended up being killed. And so I think it was a little better than I think it seemed. It was just hard because I think Arizona's a good run defense team. They're not going to give you everything or anything, and you got to go earn it. I think that running play at the very end of the game with Charbonnet to try to kind of take a minute or, a couple more seconds off the clock and just kind of maybe get them a couple additional yards. And he got them like 4 or 5 yards. And every inch of that was a fight until he went down. I thought that was kind of indicative of kind of how we were able to run the ball against them. We able to do it. It was just a slog. Mm-hmm. How about Gray Zabel? I want to talk a little bit about Gray Zabel because we haven't really talked about him too much. We haven't mentioned the offensive line in general because it's been pretty decent, but
it hasn't been great, but it's been
Zabel finally allowed a single pressure in his 30 pass sets in this game. His first pressure allowed on the entire season.
See, and that's one of the things that I think people are missing because I've seen people starting to doubt him and be like, oh, maybe we wasted a pick on this kid or whatever. Because as a run blocker, he hasn't been great.
I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to interrupt you right now. By the way,
interrupt me.
Zabel also ranks 4th in the NFL in ESPN's run block win rate at over 80%.
Really?
Yes.
I'm surprised by that. I've seen him miss some blocks and struggle and be reason why some run plays have been bottled up in the backfield.
He's not been perfect, but the whole offensive line has been kind of a hit and miss thing for sure.
True, but they've been better than in years past. Let's just throw that out there.
Sure.
But in terms of pass protection, Seattle's offensive line has been good.
They did allow 3 sacks in this game, but also 3 sacks for the entire year coming into this game.
Yeah. You have a situation where Gray Zabel gave up his first pressure of the year in game 4. Even Anthony Bradford on the far side has been surprisingly stout as a pass blocker. Abe Lucas has struggled a little bit at times, but the team has given him some really tough assignments. Go out there and block some of the best guys one-on-one without help. Ugh. And Charles Cross has been he's been really good. He's been more than just solid in this one. And Sundell's been fine. Like, he hasn't been great, but he hasn't been terrible.
And
like,
Darnold's been good at helping them. It's we're used to Russell Wilson and Geno Smith kind of running into trouble and holding the ball too long and not be able to get out of it and taking sacks. Sam Darnold doesn't take a lot of sacks, and he's got some nimble feet and he good reaction time and kind of peels out and gives himself at least a chance. Haven't seen him also make a lot of mistakes or throw some balls into coverage, a couple. But every quarterback's going to take some chances, but he generally has been taking care of the ball. So that combined with that offensive line, giving him the time, having him get the ball out a little quicker in this scheme, really has kind of set them up for success. We didn't even have a chance last year.
Yeah. I will say, like, there was the week before at the game that I was at, he threw the ball up at one point, and all you see is triple coverage. You see JSN, streaming across the field, triple coverage on him, and the ball comes out of his hands, and you're just like, why are you throwing this? And JSN he threw JSN open with anticipation and throwing it out there where only JSN could go get it. And it didn't matter that he was triple covered. And it turned out to be a big play. And you look at plays like that and you're like, see, this is how you beat teams as a quarterback, where you're throwing your guys open and they're going, we triple freaking teamed JSN and he still got the ball for a big gain. Like, that's just defeating. And Darnold was right when he let go of the ball. JSN, despite the triple team, JSN was going to be open when the ball got there, and he was. And I see things like that, and I see like that's the appropriate risk, right? Because you know it's going to be completed. This isn't like Russ would sometimes take chances and throw the ball in a way where it's like, okay, that was just dumb. Like, that was never going to be completed. And other times it worked, but sometimes you just knew. You just knew, like, yeah, you can't make that choice. And Gina was the same way. Like, there are times you throw the ball and you're like, I understand what you think you were seeing, but it wasn't there. Darnold has been better at protecting the football, but still going deep and not letting those two things be mutually exclusive. That's what's been really impressive to me from Sam Darnold through 4 games.
And he's starting to spread the ball out a little bit more to do that as well. He involved the tight ends in this game.
Yeah, he did.
AJ Barner looked good with 3 catches for 32 yards, including a 16-yard touchdown there in the first quarter. And then Arroyo had the 2 catches for 44 yards, and he would have had the touchdown, but he did draw the pass interference there on that play where he was had his arm pinned. That would have been a touchdown. That would have been Arroyo's first touchdown and a big play in that game. I was going to go back to the Seahawks run game for just a quick second. They came into this game 21st in the league, averaging 96 yards per game, 28th overall at 3.3 yards per carry. That'll improve a little bit this week as they rushed 155 yards at 4.4 yards per carry. 25th in EPA before this game per rush, 22nd in rushing success rate. However, they average 32.6 points per game the previous 3 weeks, and it'll go down a little bit in this game, but that EPA rush and rushing success rate will kind of come up a little bit. I think there's an opportunity here. After watching this game in person, it just kind of came to me is that this team really has an opportunity to be a complete team. They're not quite there yet with the rushing to kind of match the success rate of the passing, where it looks like it's a top 5 offense passing wise. Explosive plays. They're number 1 in the NFL. They're not too far away from seeing a little bit more success, I think, running the ball successfully and more consistently. And when they do, I think this offense has an opportunity to be like top 10-ish. It's just a tweak here and a tweak there. I think this mini bye that they're in right now, where they don't have any games, they played 3 games in the last 11 days. That's hard. I think that this little bye before they play the Buccaneers that come to town, which is a complete team, will give them an opportunity, I think, to kind of tweak a few things in the running game to kind of help them, hopefully, and kind of break that thing out. Because I think that if that should happen, and I expect it to at some point, I think they're just so dedicated to wanting to do it. If it does happen in conjunction with the way that Sam Darnold is explosive and is efficient, this offense combined with this defense, wow.
Yeah, the defense has been great. Like you said, it's 130 yards of offense for Arizona through 3 quarters. That's crazy. And I know they fell apart a little bit in the 4th quarter, but yeah, 3 games in 11 days. Guys were tired.
Yeah.
Like, give him a break, guys.
So let's talk about some defensive players in this game. I want to talk about a guy that I texted you. I said, okay, dude, who's number 7? Because I didn't have like a guide with me, a player's guide. And I was like, who's number 7? I don't even know. And you said it's Uchenna. And I was like, oh, the player I haven't seen on the field for like 2 years is out there making plays. And man, he looked good.
He had 2 sacks in this game. And yeah, looking good. Like,
Fresh. He looked like he had fresh legs and everyone else kind of didn't. I mean, 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss, 2 quarterback hits. I thought he was playing all over the place. And I was kind of watching him rotate in and out. I thought the rotations in this game were really interesting to me. Mike Macdonald was doing his best, I think, to keep everyone fresh. I saw guys like Williams on the sideline quite a bit, taking some plays off. Derek Hall was in a rotation. Jerron Reed, Byron Murphy, they were all just coming in and out. Peely was in there, a few other guys, just because you could see it. I could see it when they came out in the first drive of the third quarter that they just didn't look quite right to me. They just lacked that little bit of energy, and I was like, uh-oh. And they were playing so well at the time. I just like, whatever. But man, it really showed in those last couple drives that the Cardinals had. They just couldn't keep up with players, and they weren't getting to Kyler Murray like they were earlier in the game.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. But honestly, the defenses looked good. They really have looked good. Byron Murphy right up the middle. I loved seeing Uchenna Nwoso come in and flash like he did before his injury, a season and a half ago. Because he looked legit as a pass rusher in this game. And if that continues to go with the other 3 guys that they have at the outside linebacker spot, honestly, I would not want to be an opposing quarterback. You got the 2 guys coming right up the gut, with Williams and Murphy, and then you got so much talent coming off the edge. That's going to make it really hard on opposing quarterbacks.
So we've got 3 games coming up before the bye.
Mm-hmm.
We've got the Buccaneers coming into town. They're currently 3-0. Yep. They play this weekend. They could be coming in 4-0 against 3-1. What a game. That'll be interesting. Then we go on the road and face the Jaguars on the 12th of October. And then the Texans come to town on Monday Night Football. And then we go to a bye. Right after the bye, we play the Commanders. The Cardinals again, the Rams, the Titans, the Vikings, the Falcons. It doesn't get any easier. The Colts are now somehow good. It's not an easy schedule, but it's not hard. I think there's an opportunity here to take these next 3 games. What are your thoughts on the Buccaneers, Jaguars, and Texans?
Well, the Texans are really struggling. Their young quarterback, who looked great as a rookie, had a sophomore slump, has not looked good this year. There's concern that maybe something is broken in terms of the way he's seeing things and doing things. The Jaguars have not been better. Honestly, like, it comes down to this game. Tampa they're a good team. They're a complete team. They've got talent all over the roster. But do they scare you?
No.
They don't scare me.
Yeah, you watch these games and there's a lot of kind of hero ball going on.
Mm-hmm.
And there's they're in squeakers, little close games at the end, and including the Jets in this last week. They ended up, I think, winning by a field goal on a team that everyone expects to blow out. So yeah, it's at home. We'll have 10 days to game plan and recover. I think we need that actually. This little break after 11, 3 games in 11 days. Oh, my goodness, that's crazy. And then the Jaguars at traveling to the East Coast, and then the Texans at home, and then a bye. I think that schedule sets up really nice for Seattle to essentially be 6-1.
That would be incredible.
Yeah,
I'm not
and
convinced
I selfishly want that because that's my prediction. But what do you think about this team? Like, how do you view this team right now, Keith?
I view the defense as being just absolutely legit. The offense is a bit inconsistent, a bit inefficient for where I expect them to be. I would like to see them be more efficient, fewer tackle, runs for 0 yards or less. Even if the numbers look okay right now, it's not consistent. It's no gain, 9 yards. And they need, I would rather have them be, 3 or 4, 3 or 4, 3 or 4. And I think they'll get there. But right now, the offense has me a little bit concerned, but the defense looks so good. Just so good.
Defense is going to keep you in every game.
Yeah.
I mean, they almost gave this one away, but, I'm going to give them a little bit of a break. What do you think about the conservative play calling down the stretch in this game? I've heard some complaints about that. Didn't really notice it in real time when I was there, that it was conservative. I thought it was appropriate.
Offensively or defensively? Because defensively was not conservative.
No, offensively, where they were
running. They were bringing pressure, and when they probably shouldn't have. Like, part of Arizona's ability
to blitz a little bit in the second half in that game.
Yeah, Arizona's ability to move the ball. There were a lot of Seahawks bring 2 extra guys on the blitz. So they bring in 6, and that just left gaps. Where the linebackers were supposed to be, that they guys filled in and picked up stuff. And so it's that kind of stuff. Like, defensively, I think it wouldn't have hurt them to be a little more conservative. Offensively, they were trying to run the clock out. They were like, let's run some clock. Let's shorten this game. We've got a lead. We've got a at one point a multi-score lead. Like, let's do that.
I was disappointed in the one play where Charbonnet on 4th and 1 didn't pick it up and got shoestring tackled by Buda Baker. I thought that was a real conservative call coming out of a timeout. Whereas, those plays to Barner with the push and a few other plays in the hopper to choose from, I thought that was fairly conservative and predictable and didn't work. And I was disappointed in that in a moment in the game where I thought they could stretch this thing out a little bit and pull away.
Yeah.
I mean, they were up by, 17 points at that moment. And you would hope that they would kind of elect to be a little bit more aggressive, but I understand why they're conservative. That playbook has been around forever in the NFL, but, and it would have worked had a few other select plays gone their way, a couple touchdowns called back, that, the things we've already talked about.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else you want to cover before we get out of here?
No, I think we're good. Let's get out of here. We've got a weekend where the Seahawks don't play because they've already played, and then we'll be back early next week, or at some point next week, to preview our next game.
Yeah, no doubt.
I'll be at the next game.
You got anything? You will?
Yeah.
Ooh, nice. Any plans this weekend? You gonna watch any football?
I'll watch some. I'm mostly here to sleep.
Nice. I'm here to garden this week. So we just had massive monsoon storms today, like early all day, and the rain lasted like 6 hours. It's already been over like 1.5 inches of rain today.
Wow.
So the gardening aspect is kicking into gear. The long-term forecast doesn't show any more days in the hundreds. So we might be doing a lot of planting this weekend, because this is the grow season in Phoenix. Everyone's kind of battening down the hatches, getting ready to anyway in the Northwest. Here it's like, okay, the heat wave is finally over. The 4-month heat wave. We're now going to plant our flowers and gardens for the winter. So yeah, get into that a little bit. So, all right, let's get out of here. Find Keith on Blue Sky at Myers NFL. You can find me at NW Seahawk. The show is Seahawks Playbook Podcast. Find us on your favorite podcast platform, all that good stuff. And until next time, go Hawks.
Go Hawks.
Seahawks Playbook Podcast listeners, thanks for joining us for another edition of the show. You can find us on Twitter. Bill is at NW Seahawk, Keith is at Myers NFL, and the show is at Hawks Playbook. You can listen and subscribe to the show at SeahawksPlaybook.com.